while I was in my master's program, one of my classmates actually introduced me to clinical research as a job. So I was a research analyst at Vanderbilt University. And I also worked with patients and answered questions about research trials that they wanted to be a part of. So after I graduated with my master's, I still had medical school on my mind, but it just didn't work out for me. And I really enjoyed the work that I was doing at Vanderbilt with clinical research. And then I learned about clinical research when I was in my master's program. And I wanted to kind of lean more towards that because my master's was a general master's in public health program. But because I had my part-time in clinical research and medical school wasn't something that I was pursuing anymore, I just transitioned into a full-time job in clinical research. Now, I went through a few different levels at Vanderbilt, worked in a few different departments. Some of it was because of funding issues. And so if you work on government-funded trials, a lot of the times you have your money allocated for the year and you don't always get funded. And so you have to move around to different departments. So I moved around to a few different departments that way and ended up becoming a study coordinator for the cancer center. And I got introduced to monitoring through that. So my monitors would come very often because it was a phase 1 clinical research unit. And so they would come like every 3 to 4 weeks. And they always told me how good I was as a coordinator and they wanted me to become a monitor. But at the time I didn't want to do it because they seemed extremely stressed out every time they came on site. And I didn't feel like that was something that I wanted to do at the time. And so I was introduced to a clinical research organization through Aerotech, which is a temp agency. And I started working there. I was introduced to that side. From there, I got on as a permanent role as a clinical research assistant or in-house. Well, it's an in-house CRA now, but it started off as a CRA assist role. And then I transitioned to a clinical research associate, and that's my journey there.
Thank you.
A little colorful.
Thank you so much for sharing. Cassie, can you tell us about your clinical research journey?
Yeah, so definitely. I came out of college in 2014 with a biology degree, and I just didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I went to go work at LabCorp, but hated it. I just hated it. Like I was doing I was shipping samples out and I was like, oh my God, this can't be my life. I can't have a degree and be doing this in my life. So a girl that I actually was lab partners with in college contacted me, and she was, because I had been telling her, I just wasn't happy or whatever. And she said, well, I actually work at Quintiles and I'm getting ready to leave. I'm going on to another opportunity. Would you be interested in a job with Quintiles? And I was like, well, what does Quintiles do? I don't know what you want me to do. So she's like, you'll be in the lab. And she told me a little bit about clinical research. And I was like, oh, okay, let me give it a try. It'll be a good filler, right? Until I figure out what I want to do. Because when I graduated, like when I went into college, I wanted to be pre-med. And then while I was in there, I was like, yeah, pre-med ain't for me. Let me go be like a crime scene investigator. And then I was like, oh wait, that ain't for me either. So I really came out of college kind of just like, I got a degree. I don't know what I want to do now. So once I got the job at Quintiles, I stayed in the lab for about 5 years. And I kept trying to get out of the lab, but nobody was like giving me a chance within the company or with outside of the company. So opportunity came to me to do like a postgraduate clinical research coordinator certificate program. It was like 2 years, and I went to class like once a week. And so it worked really well with my schedule. So I did it. I was it a year and a half. I don't know. But anyway, like I did that. And in the process of doing that certificate program, I had to do an internship with local hospitals and clinics. And that's when I got my first exposure with being like a clinical research coordinator. And the lady that I did the internship with really liked me. And she asked me like if I thought like being a research coordinator would be something I wanted to do after I got through the program. I was like, why not? Hey, yeah, girl, yeah. So I didn't say yeah, girl, but anyway, so after I got through with the certificate program, I applied at KU, and got on, and I was an early phase research coordinator there, and I helped organize, like they were going into like a building where they were only going to do early phase research. So I was like for a long time the one and only coordinator, the data, and I helped build that unit up. And so then like some of the patients, as I was a coordinator, I started to become too connected to my subjects, if that makes sense. Like I would be taking work home and taking their stories home with me and calling them and making sure they were good at home. And then I started to take some of my patients' deaths really, really personal. Like I had done something. So I was like, okay, I got to start switching this up. So about after 3 years, I decided to go to another company where I was kind of like an in-house CRA. I collected documents for the CRAs that were traveling on the road, like organized the TMF, and that's where I kind of got my regulatory background from. Because when I was at KU, I was just a coordinator and data coordinator, so I didn't do like regulatory. I didn't do any submissions or anything like that. So my next step was, again, like I said, kind of an in-house CRA, and so I got more exposure with collecting regulatory documents and things like that. And then what happened? All my steps kind of led one thing led to another. So I love networking, and I went to a networking opportunity. We had dinner, and people were talking about me being a coordinator and being an in-house CRA, and someone from, at the time, Theorem Clinical Research came to me. He was like, yeah, I've been hearing these great things about you, that you're amazing with early phase research. You know your stuff in oncology. Would you be interested in, we have a bridge program going on. And I was like, I don't know if I really want to be a CRA because of travel. But why not? Let me go ahead and do this interview. So I interviewed and got that position. And I started out as a CRA through the bridge program. And I really, for me, that was a good fit because we had mentors with that program, and we kind of started out slow. It was a slow build. After a year, I got back into the oncology realm. My first year, I did just kind of like vaccine studies and things like that. But yeah, so it led me to where I am now, which is senior research coordinator. Senior clinical, senior CRA, sorry. But also, along my path, I also got certified as a clinical research coordinator, and I still had that certification because it took too long, too much money for me to lose it now. So yeah, that's my story. Okay, bye.
Thank you so much for sharing. Komora, can you tell us about your clinical research journey?
Absolutely. So I graduated from Tulane University in 2004. And as we know, a lot of people know, in 2005, Hurricane Katrina hit, and I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. So during that time, my family and I went to Nashville, Tennessee, and I wanted to make a move anyway since I finished college. I did have a job with the state of Louisiana in the Medicaid department, but I wanted to leave anyway, so that hurricane was an opportunity for me to leave, and we ended up in Nashville, Tennessee. My family went home. I chose to stay there. I stayed there, and I got a job as administrative assistant at Vanderbilt University Medical Center within the Department of Emergency Medicine. And I was at Vanderbilt for 4 years, but through my time there, the emergency medicine department within the academic arena, they started a research division, and I was able to help with the submission of grants and submission of ICFs and different things to the IRB. So I was administrative assistant, but I was doing all the regulatory work. While at Vanderbilt, I got my master's, my MBA, and I had a concentration in healthcare. And while I was doing research at Vanderbilt, I met a young man who told me about Covance, and he just told me about the research industry in general. So after I received my master's, he said, you should apply for an entry-level position at Covance. And there was an office a local office for Covance in Nashville. So I applied, and I got a job as a study startup associate. So that was an entry-level position, kind of taught me the ropes of clinical research. After doing that position for maybe a year and a half or two, I became a study startup specialist. After that, I wanted a change and I wanted a challenge. I wasn't sure if I wanted to travel, but I was single, didn't have any kids. So I decided to become a CRA. So at Covance, kind of like Rashida mentioned, we were in-house CRAs, or clinical research assistants. So I was in that role for about 9 months, and then I was promoted to CRA 1. So that's my journey into clinical research. I've been with 3 different companies since I've been a monitor, and I'm currently a senior clinical research associate.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. It seems like everyone has similar backgrounds. Everyone have bachelor's degree in biology. You know, me personally, I wanted to go like with medicine. I thought I was going to be a doctor also, but this is definitely great responses to the questions, and very interesting for people to learn about the CRA journey. So what are the best ways to manage your time with being a CRA? So Rashida, can you answer that for us?
Sure. So I think one of the biggest things that you have to really get a handle on is managing your time. You're not someone who has a regular 9 to 5. And so, I mean, travel is a little less now, and I think that's revving up a little more now, but you have to get a handle on being able to figure out how much time it takes for you to do certain tasks. What helps me is creating my own trackers. Whenever I'm on a new study, I do that for myself. It's a little more work on the front end, but it's for my own personal use, so I can see a snapshot of how each of my sites are doing and where they are when it comes to the study, and like contact information for each of my sites that I can have on hand. Same thing for vendors when it comes to help desk, having that type of information on hand. Something else is making sure that you keep your calendar up to date. I am still old school when it comes to calendars. Like, I still have my paper calendar that I prefer to look at, and only because it gives you the view of all of like the whole month as a whole. And so I'm able to manage home life, and then also work life, travel, see what my next week is going to be like. I actually have a family, so I have a husband, I have 2 kids now. Even though I'm not traveling at this time, when I first started traveling as a monitor, I had my son who was 3 years old at the time. And so I had to really show my husband what was going on with my week so that he can prepare, because he was the caretaker in the house. So definitely time management and keeping things up to date so that you know what you need to do.
Thank you. Kimora, what about you? What's the best way to manage your time?
So Rashida hit some of the high points. I'm a calendar person, and also just in my personal life and work life, I use lists. Of course, as a monitor, our priorities change from day to day. So I make a new list every day. Sometimes things from yesterday's list may be on the new list, but I keep track in a way that's efficient for me. A lot of monitors do have trackers, and I'm not the type of person that will create a tracker if there's already something that's been created by my company. I don't want to recreate the wheel, but if there's something that's not created by them that'll keep me on track, I'll create a tracker to keep up with the different statuses of my sites. I also try to know how my sites work. I have different sites that have different coordinators with different personalities. Some sites, and this is new for me, prefer me to text. Some sites prefer me to email. Some sites prefer me to call. And then some sites require more follow-up than other sites to get things done. So I would assess my sites during the first couple of visits to see how they work and see how you can best manage that site specifically.
Thank you, thank you. So next question, what's your next career move? Cassie, can you share with us?
Yes. So next on my list, I've always wanted to be a project manager, so I'm trying to just figure out my way to get there. I really think the next move for me is going to be a clinical, for at least in my, different companies have different names for it, but in my company it's called a clinical trial lead, a CTL. I think that's going to be my next move, or an associate PM. Some studies, like you can be a CTL and you function as a associate project manager. So it just kind of, yeah.
So Cassie, what do you think are the steps necessary in order to become a project manager?
So I've actually talked to my line manager about this. So currently I work at Covance, and Covance has like, I guess it's not an official academy, but it's just like these little training modules that you do that prepare you for being a clinical trial lead. And then I've been, especially like since we've been home, I've done a little travel, but I've been trying to like help my CTO. Like I'll ask like, oh, is there something I can do to help you? And so that way, when I go to apply for the job, I can say, oh, well, I have experience doing this and helping my CTL. So I've kind of been doing that. And then just for a project manager, I actually have applied one time before, and the feedback I got from the panel when I applied was I just need to work on my presenting skills. So when I do my SIVs, especially since they've been remote lately, I've been working on presenting, making sure that I'm just getting better with that. So
thank you. So Rashida, what is your next career move?
The same as Cassie. I want to get more on the business side of clinical research, and I see myself being more in the project management role. Everyone I talk to sees me being a line manager to CRAs, and I'm like, that is not what I want to do. Thank you for, seeing that in me. But I would rather mentor people outside of my company. And so that's why I wouldn't choose to be a line manager. I thought about being a CTL, which is for some companies is a clinical trial lead who is under a project manager, and they manage monitors. So that's an option, but I don't know if that's something that I can handle. But definitely learning more about the business side, running projects, managing, delegating tasks when it comes to things like that. So I'm excited to learn about that. I just accepted a new role as a CRA at another company, so that's on pause right now. But I've talked to my line manager about, my goals and what I want to do. And so she's aware of that, and we'll see what that looks like next year.
Thank you. Kimora, what is your next career move?
Okay, so my next career moves may be a bit different from the other ladies. Although I do enjoy the clinical research industry, if I were to stay in long term, I would like to train, because I really do enjoy mentoring people, and I'm excited about doing this today. I like to let people know about this industry and about this field, and I like to train. But ideally, I would transition out of this industry and do some teaching, maybe on a college level, and do more things in the community. My passion is finance and helping people with their finances and budgeting. So I endeavor to start a consulting company and eventually teach within that arena when I retire from the clinical research industry. But during my time staying in the research industry, I would love to train, but I find that those positions are few and far between.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. The next question, anyone could really answer this one. How is it working in the industry for those with families?
I'll take this. It's not easy. The advice, because I get asked this all the time. I have two kids. I have a 9-year-old and a 2-year-old. started traveling when my firstborn was 3. And now my husband is also a monitor. So we are a 2-monitor household with 2 kids. We live right outside of Nashville, and we don't have family here to support us. And so when I started traveling, he was the caretaker in the house, which was a transition for him. And I was a little nervous at first, but when I came home after my first visit, everyone was alive and well fed and well rested. So I was like, okay, you guys can actually do this without me. So without the support of my husband, I don't know if I would be able to do that because we don't have the family network here. In addition to that, when I was pregnant with my second son, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of traveling. I had some complications towards the end where I actually gave birth to him about a month prior to when he was actually supposed to come. And I personally think it was because I was putting too much on myself and I wasn't speaking up and being the advocate that I should have been for myself and talking to my doctor about how I was feeling mentally. And so after I had him, I had a fear of going back to work. What I did to kind of offset that fear was I talked to my line manager prior to, so I let her know how I was feeling. I talked to my trial leads and project manager and just let them know, like, if there is an opportunity for me to not travel as soon as I come back off of maternity leave, please let me know. And so at the time I was actually working at Covance, and they started increasing the amount of in-house CRAs that they had at the time. And that was like a transition from what used to be a clinical CRA assistant. And they reserved the senior in-house roles for people who were CRAs and then didn't want to travel anymore. And so that's the position that I did for almost a year. And then I transitioned into being a senior CRA. But now that COVID happened and the type of trial that I'm on, I don't have to travel. But my husband, he still travels. And so it is not an easy thing. We definitely have to communicate. We definitely have to keep our calendars synced up. Since my son is older now, he's in a lot of activities. And so we have to depend on each other and our community to kind of come together and help us with that. So whatever you do, I don't want anyone to be discouraged if being a CRA is something that you just want to do just for a moment in time. Do not be discouraged because you have children. Don't be discouraged because you don't have support. Build the support that you need so that you can do what you need to do for whatever time that you want to do it, and spend as much time as you can when you're not on the road with your family and your friends.
Awesome. That is some really good advice about having families and how to handle being a CRA. So next question, does anyone regret being a CRA coming from a CRC role, or are there any regrets with being a CRA? Anyone would like to answer?
I'll answer. No, I mean, I was very nervous about like if I would be able to manage my time and have a life and all that. But for me personally, I didn't like the beginning of the year, like the amount of travel that I was starting to do. I just got put on 2 studies, was kind of crazy. But now with COVID, it's kind of, it's starting to travel is starting to pick back up. But I still don't think like moving forward, we're going to have the amount of travel that we had before because companies are kind of seeing that they can save some money. But no, I don't regret it. I find a lot of benefit in it. I love travel before anyway, so now I just get rewards to do it. So yeah, I don't regret it at all.
So what kind of I'm sorry.
Oh, good.
No, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say briefly that I don't regret it either. There are definitely pros and cons, and I think we may get into those later, but there are definitely pros and cons, but I definitely don't regret it. I appreciate the experiences that I've had, the things I've learned, and the life that I've been able to build, and the people that I've been able to meet during my time as a CRA.
Rashida.
I do not regret it one bit.
You make me want to ask another question. So what's the best part of being a CRA?
For me,
let me go first. You go ahead, Rashida.
Everybody wants to say that way. For me, the salary potential is, as far as the career goes, right? You have the potential to live a life that some of us never thought that we would live financially, for me anyway. I love also the fact that I still feel like I'm a part of the medical field. I get to go into patients' charts. I get to review protocols. Like, that still gets me excited to get on a new protocol and see, and I call them my patients, I don't call them subjects, but to see how the patients interact with trials and the drug, and just interacting with sites and coordinators, because I used to be a coordinator and I understand some of the things that they have to go through. Aside from that, you know, hotel parks, I haven't personally bought a flight in years, and still have points built up with that. And I'll let the other ladies tell what they like about it.
Kamora?
Yeah, so Rashida's took everything. Of course, I like the benefits of all the hotel and the flight points, because, yeah, for years and years, I haven't had to pay for flights or hotels unless I wanted to. I have enjoyed learning the different therapeutic areas. I was actually on a study years ago, a Hep C study, and some of the drugs have been approved and they're helping people. And I know during the course of the study, the viral load was down to like 0. And I just found it rewarding to be in certain therapeutic areas that I had never thought about before. And I'm actually a business major. So I worked in healthcare as a teenager, but I'm a business major. So this is something, as a business major, I never fathomed, doing. So I enjoy the different therapeutic areas. I enjoy getting to know people. I found some really good friends that I take trips with, that they're lifelong friends. So I enjoy the people aspect. I enjoy a lot of the sites and a lot of the perks, from the different rewards.
Awesome. Cassie?
Yeah. So just to piggyback on, it's, for me, the biggest is definitely the salary. I could have never imagined, I don't know, just making the salary that I do. I work hard for it. Don't get me wrong now. I work hard, but, yeah, I mean, in the amount of time that I've been a CRA, I've been really blessed with that. And then travel. I've always liked travel before, but now, I find myself, I've visited places. I have my favorite places. I'm kind of a hotel snob now. So when I travel with my friends, they're like, "Oh, you've been there?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course. I have." I mean, there's still definitely places I want to visit. I want to do more international travel, but yeah, and I've met some amazing people. Through my journey of clinical research in general, I've met some amazing people through networking, my patients, but then also now I've been able to meet some amazing physicians, and the staff, and I feel like I'm a part of something bigger than me, being a CRA, and that brings me a lot of personal joy.
Okay. And I want to say this because I didn't say this before. I love being a CRA. I don't regret being a CRA, but I need people to understand that it is not an easy task to do. You are, not right now, but as a traditional CRA, you are traveling. You are away from your family. You are away from your friends. When I first started as a CRA, I did not want to do a thing on the weekend. I was tired throughout the week. I was like, there's no way I can gather enough energy to do anything on the weekend, because I'm going to have to go back out and be traveling for 2 to 3 days. you're not always in major cities. You can get a very, very small town that is 3 to 4 hours away from the airport that you actually land in. And then you have to get a rental car and you got to drive out there. Sometimes the hotels aren't as luxurious as you want them to be. And so you're eating out a lot. So you have to maintain the stuff that you eat, or you're going to gain a lot of weight or eat a lot of bad stuff really late at night. The work-life balance can be a struggle sometimes. I know for some of us, taking time off can be a hard thing to do. You have to prepare before you leave, make sure you have backups, make sure your backup understands some of the things that are going on. And then when you come back, or even when you're out, we're tempted a lot of the times to check on our phones and see what's going on with our sites, or we'll check in on something with our computer. And so turning that off can be hard, but it's a thing that you have to learn to do. And then when you get back from vacation, you have to deal with hundreds of emails and getting through those and following up. So I don't want people to think that this is an easy thing to do. It is very rewarding, both for me mentally and financially, but I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. I definitely feel like it's important to have a good work-life balance, especially with being a CRA and handling so many different studies. So I'm getting a lot of questions, but we're going to answer the questions towards the end. We're going to ask our panelists some of the questions. And so I am going to turn it over to my co-host, Andrika.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm Andrika Thomas, if you don't know me. I'm in clinical research currently. I work at a site, but I just accepted a role as research project manager for pediatric oncology. So I'll be moving over there to another place after next week. But yes, let's get into these questions. Rashida, you kind of already answered it, but if you have anything else to add, what are the cons of being a CRA?
Can I start off?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Rashida took all the good stuff. So, okay. So like Rashida said, the reality is there can be a lot of overwhelming hours. Out of the 3 different companies I've been a CRA with, I don't think I've ever had a company where I didn't have anything to do. Most of the times there were overwhelming periods, overwhelming weeks, overwhelming months, overwhelming years. So I say the cons are that it's overwhelming. It can be overwhelming at times. You have to have a work-life balance. And if you don't set boundaries and become proactive as early as possible, you can get burned out. And you do want to make sure you do have a life outside of work. So set boundaries. If you don't travel on Sundays or Fridays, you don't travel on Sundays or Fridays or Saturdays. So you have to set those different things and just stick to them, certain standards that'll work for your life, so that your whole life isn't work and that you can also have a balance. So I would say set boundaries, let your no mean no. Sometimes you may want to throw them a bone here and there, but make sure you take care of your health. Make sure you take care of your physical health, your mental health. And I would say be proactive. If you know you need help, or if you can foresee that you may need help, reach out for help. And because you don't want to get to a place where it's so overwhelming that you can't dig your way out of a hole. So I would say the cons are that it can be overwhelming at times. Like I said, it can be months, it can be a year or 2 worth of overwhelmingness, but try to set your boundaries and your standards of what you will and you won't do. Be flexible. And so, yeah, that's my spiel.
Thank you, Kimora. Cassie, can you answer that question, please? What are the cons of being the CRA?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely agree with what ladies have already said. I feel like you just, like, for me, what I had to learn is definitely to set the boundaries, because if you don't speak up for yourself and your own advocate, then they, then nobody else is going to be that for you. But definitely, like the travel on weekends, the late, like what I've come to the conclusion of, what I tell myself, when I walk into an airport, there's nothing I can control, right? Like, you go through security, you might have to get a pat down. I have pre-check, so I don't usually have to worry about that too much, but the flights are going to be they could be canceled, they could be delayed. So you have to like find some peace in the unexpected. And you have to be able to roll with the punches, really. You can get on site and you know, there's like three SAEs that you didn't even know about, and then you got to work it out. So you just have to be flexible, quick on your feet. But yeah, I let a lot of things roll off my back, but I mean, if you're very like rigid, I think that you're gonna find being a CRA kind of hard to transition into. Definitely set your boundaries though, because you have to be on advocate. But yep, that's it.
Thank you, Cassie. Next question. In terms of getting started as a CRA, how would you transition from a CRC or any other position into a CRA? Anyone can answer that.
Well,
go ahead.
I want people to understand that a CRA is not an entry-level position. I have people contacting me all the time like, I don't have experience in clinical research. I don't have experience in the medical industry. How can I be a CRA? And I'm like, the likelihood of that happening is slim to none. Maybe 15 to 20 years ago, when the industry was new for CRAs, that was a thing. But it's really hard for you to, first of all, break into clinical research, period, and then to become a CRA. So what I suggest people to do is, if they can become involved locally with a clinical research organization that has national chapters. One that I'm involved in is the Association of Clinical Research Professionals, also known as ACRP. And the great thing about that is that, I mean, now since things are virtual, but I mean, before everything, they had chapter meetings. Now we have virtual chapter meetings. It's a chance for you to put your face out there and allow people to see who you are. Volunteer for certain things if you can within that local chapter, and really just be extremely persistent about your pursuit in this industry. Don't go out and get a retail job if you want to be in clinical research. Try to find something in the medical industry. Try to volunteer for something in the medical industry that will give you some kind of leg up from that. And I have a whole bunch of other stuff that I could say, but I'm going to leave it at that. That's my tip right there.
Okay, Kamora, can you answer that, please?
I'm not sure if Rashida said it. I know at some points there are some bridge programs for coordinators where they train you to be entry-level CRAs. So I would say maybe next year or something, I would look around for those programs. And I would also say, if you're looking to be in clinical research, I would keep trying. If you're rejected the first 20 times, keep trying to get some type of position. Don't quit. And yeah, if there's some, I would keep looking for programs. If you're a coordinator, maybe there's some bridge programs to where you can transition into an entry-level CRA position.
Also, for that bridge program, it's really important that you get in a CRA bridge program at a company that is conducting clinical research, and not necessarily one that's just about training, because you still have the lack of support when it comes to having a job in clinical research. So try to keep that in mind as well.
Thank you, Rashida. Thank you, Kamora. Cassie, do you have any tips?
Yeah, so what I would say, things that I always suggest for people is definitely network. Use this group and other platforms like ACRP, SOCRA, all that, y'all. Network is very important. That's how that's literally how I got started in clinical research and how I've been able to move up. And then also, sometimes it's the wording in your resume. They're looking for certain words, right? And so like maybe having someone who's a CRA look over your resume, or someone who's in research look over your resume. You want to make sure you're having certain trigger words in there so that it pops up at them, and not like just they kind of gloss over it. You want to stand out because there's so many people trying to become CRCs and so many people trying to become CRAs. You just got to make yourself stand out somehow. So.
definitely beating that ATS system. And ATS is the system that scans your resume at the companies and picks out keywords. That's where those auto rejects come from. Okay, next question. Do all CRA positions require travel? And if so, how much is like normal travel?
Well,
Rashida?
right now, yeah, I'll take this. Right now, I am a senior CRA and I'm not traveling. I'm not projected to start traveling until next year or a year and a half from now because of the type of vaccine trial that I'm a part of right now. I said this earlier, but I was a senior in-house CRA. So I was on a risk-based monitoring trial, meaning there was a combination of on-site monitoring travel and then phone calls where you do monitoring visits that way. I didn't do the on-site part, but I did all of the remote work. And they utilized me because I have the skills of being a monitor. I know the things to look for. I know the type of questions to ask and the things to do to help sites get, do better at some of the things that they were falling off on. So for the most part, you do have to travel as a CRA, but there are certain positions that you can pursue that will allow you to stay home more. And then because of COVID, a lot of people aren't traveling, so.
I actually am still traveling right now, but most of my positions, well, all of my positions, I've had to travel a lot. And most of the time, a lot of times it's not regional, but I did want to say that this is the first time I have a position where all my sites are local, except for the one I'm at today. I had to drive 3 hours, but this was like a unique situation for me. All my sites are pretty much within a short driving distance. So it kind of helps me to have a better work-life balance. But for the most part, most CRAs do travel a lot, but I guess Rashida is an example that you don't always have to travel. And especially now during COVID, a lot of people are doing remote visits.
And I would just add also, I think it depends on like what type of study you're being a CRA on. Like I know people who do device studies and they don't travel as much as like I do early phase studies now. So which means like after like 14 days after the subject first doses, I need to be typically on site, but now we're doing remote monitoring, but that's just a standard for early phase studies. So different studies have different frequencies, but like just depending again, like the type of study that you're doing, that will maybe determine like how fast you have to be on site, and then your frequency of how often you go out to the site. So, yeah.
Essentially, from what I see on most job descriptions, is that they ask for 75 to like 80% travel. I guess that's typical, but yeah. Next question. Some of you kind of already answered this, but let's delve into it a little bit more because I see it coming in the chat. Can you have children and travel as a CRA? Go ahead, Rashida girl.
The short answer is yes, you can. You just have to have support, whether that means your partner, your husband, your wife, your family. If you have a community that you trust, meaning other moms or other families that you can surround your child with, that is the key. So having lots and lots of support.
Can we break it down a little bit more in terms of, I know because you and I talk outside of here, like let's talk about a typical travel schedule. Like, do you travel for 3 days? You come home for 4 days? Yeah.
So there was a point in time when my husband and I were both traveling at the same time. And there were some weeks where so we had to match our schedules up together. And if a site needed to change, or if there was a project schedule that needed to change and your monitoring strategy changed, then we had to come back to the table and figure out who could change their visits around. So what we did in our house was we made sure that we booked our trips at the top of the monitoring window so that we had the wiggle room to reschedule if we needed to. There were some days some weeks where I would travel the first half of the week, We would meet up at the airport, switch the kids in the cars, and then the other person would go home while the other person went out and traveled. There were some occasions where we had to fly my mother-in-law in to watch our child because we didn't have anybody that could stay as long as we needed to. I think I had an SIV, not an SIV, what do you call it at the beginning? The kickoff, a kickoff meeting. So you can't change that because you're at the mercy of the protocol and the investigators and the sponsor. And so I think we both had investigator meetings at the same time in different places. And so we needed my mother-in-law to come in for 3 or 4 days. And so we had to fly her in. Luckily, she was in Atlanta. It was only a 30-minute flight for her to come in from there. But it takes a lot of communication with your partner. It takes a lot of you saying, I'm so sorry that I have to do this, but we got to come together. It's not an easy thing. We are tired a lot of the times, or we're tired a lot of the times for having to do that. I had guilt because I was like, I'm a mom. I'm supposed to be here with my kids. I'm supposed to be in activities with my kids. And so what I did was, when I wasn't traveling and my son had things, I would go to the school. So if I could go for a lunch and I had a, time period where I could go and not do work, which is something that we have as CRAs because we have a relatively flexible schedule, I would go and sit in and have lunch with him. Or I would, if it was his birthday, I made sure I didn't travel on those days. So it's just, you have the ability to make your schedule and work it around your family. You just have to be very active in looking at the school calendar and looking at your time off and then matching it up with your monitoring schedule and making sure that you meet at minimum your metric for monitoring.
Thank you, Rashida.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I mean, it just goes to show that a little bit of sacrifice and compromise is okay for the bigger reward. Like at the end of the day, 6-figure chicks. So that's great. Kamora and Cassie, I'm not sure if you have children or not, but if you would like to answer the question.
Yeah, I'm single, no kids, so I'm pretty flexible when it comes to the travel. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'm single too. I have a dog, and my mom is a little older. So my dad died about 3 years ago. So I've just, she doesn't live with me, but I definitely, when she has major doctor's appointments, I try to be home or to the point where I can talk to the physician and things like that. And then my dog's basically kind of moved in with her. We share custody. I pay for things and she takes care of them while I'm on the road. Now that I've been home so much, he's kind of I know I can read his mind. He's like, why are you still here though? I want to go back to grandma's. What are you still doing? So, but something I wanted to say was so since I'm single, my friends are always like, girl, your dating life must be amazing. No, because I'm on the road so much. And it's just hard to see somebody I'm dating, or if I can do the long distance thing, right? Cause I'm maybe in your city, twice a week or something like that. Or twice a month or something like that. It's just kind of hard. Sometimes they think, oh, you cheating on me, or, dating can be tough, as a CRA. Yeah.
I ain't met no men out here, so.
Yeah, when I became a CRA, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna meet my husband in the airport. Yeah, no, most time it ain't it's not that. It's not the kind of thing.
Danielle, are you gonna start a CRA dating app?
Oh.
Ooh.
You see?
Hey.
Okay.
Hey, meet up in the airport. Look, get that coffee in the airport. See if y'all got connecting flights or something. Hey.
That's right.
CRA connection or connect or yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. Nobody steal that, participants who are listening. Okay. The next question, and basically the last question before we get into the participants question, is how important do you think it is to have a bachelor's degree or master's degree in comparison to years of research? Like, essentially, does having higher degrees trump experience?
I can start off. So I do want to say that I think having your bachelor degree is minimum, and probably the minimum that you should have. You should definitely have your bachelor's degree and experience. I do think the experience trumps a lot of things, but I think we should have at least our bachelor's degree and then experience. I know when I moved from company to company, I don't know if they really looked at the fact that I have a master's degree or any degree beyond bachelor's. It may have helped, and I know it can help in negotiation of salary. Sometimes you can use it, and I definitely don't regret getting it, but I think the minimum you should have is a bachelor's degree. But I do think the experience is probably one of the most important things they look for.
Essentially, like another question within that, have you ever been promoted simply because you then went from a bachelor's to a master's?
No.
Okay.
Promotions come from experience and who you know, good networking, good metrics. I haven't personally had a promotion just because of my master's.
Gotcha. Thank you. Cassie, how about you?
Yeah, I would totally agree that experience it would trump anything over a bachelor's degree. I've had friends, because I definitely believe in pulling people along with me, especially, you know, my brown skin friends. I've had friends who've gone on BPMs you know, and then done other things in research. And we always look at, you know, what the base is for that position, and it's usually always a bachelor's degree of some sort. One of my friends is CRA, and she has like a bachelor's degree in finance. So I mean, it doesn't have to be depending on, I mean, again, it's who you know, y'all. It's who you know. But you know, yeah, bachelor's degree and experience for sure.
Thank you, Cassie. Rashida, how about you? Even though I know it's going to be a similar answer.
It is. So the same thing that they said, and I would even go further in saying, if getting a master's is something that you really want to do, I need you to look at the reason why you want to do it. Is it because you want extra titles on the end of your name? Is it because it'll make you feel better about what you're doing? Because I personally have not seen me get extra opportunities because of my master's. When I first came in as a CRA assist, there were my coworkers who came right into clinical research, the same position I was in straight out of college. No clinical research experience at all. And I know that because at companies, if you're on the same study, you guys talk a lot about your background. And that was one of the things that was disappointing to me, because I thought that my master's would give me a leg up. And that is not the case. So if you do want to get a master's and you want to learn more about a specific thing, I say wait until you are at a company, either a sponsor or a clinical research organization or contract research organization that offers to pay for a degree. Do not go out of pocket, get more in debt because you want that, because I haven't seen that it will benefit you as a CRA.
Thank you, Rashida. Is it common for CROs to pay for degrees?
Yes.
Oh, that's great. That's good to know. I hope y'all writing this down, or the participants is listening.
And I just wanted to add, I don't have a master's degree. I just have my experience, and I have the certification through ACRP. But even that, I don't think is a requirement. I think it's helped me, the certification, when I was at the academic center, KU. But yeah, I don't have a master's degree.
Thank you, Cassie.
Also, can I add one little thing to that? Be careful about certifications and paying for certifications that will guarantee you being a CRA. No one can guarantee that you will be a CRA, and a lot of the times it's about you learning baseline clinical research knowledge and maybe some specific things about becoming a monitor and monitoring tasks. But a lot of the times when people contact me, and I hope I'm not stepping on anybody's toes with this, but I get contacted from people a lot of the times who are in these paid clinical research certificate programs that are catered to the CRA role, and it will not guarantee you getting a role. And a lot of the times they're in the same position that they're in prior to spending however much they're spending on the program. So if you're going to get into any kind of certification, have your employer pay for it if you can. If you're at a site level, if you're a coordinator, most investigator sites will pay for you to have a certificate if you ask. Don't be silent about stuff like that, because they want their people at their sites to look good and have the information and make sure they're doing really good research so they can be known as having a good site and having good staff. So just be wary of the types of programs that you're getting involved in. If you can reach out to people who have taken those courses or classes, do that, get their opinion about it outside of the people who are working for those programs.
Thank you so much, Rashida, for adding that tidbit, because that, yeah, I've seen that a lot. Danielle, do you want to go ahead and go over to the chat to see what questions are being asked?
Yes, I just wanted to add to that. With seeing these classes, you shouldn't have to pay $6,000 to become a CRA. Don't let someone sell you this dream that you're going to pay $6,000, $7,000, and all of a sudden you're going to magically become a CRA. So just wanted to tell everybody that you don't have to spend that amount of money. A lot of times you can just network with someone or have someone mentor you to kind of help you and push you kind of in that position. So yes, let's go to these questions. Okay, so we got quite a few. So, oh my goodness.
I see that.
Okay, let's see. Someone asked if this is being recorded. Yes, this is being recorded. And let's see, it's a lot to scroll. Goodness gracious. Okay.
Here's a question. Do you ladies like Covance? It seemed like either all of you have worked there at one point in time. Do you like Covance?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, and a reminder, this is recorded.
Yes.
Yeah. I actually started at Covance. That was like where my entry-level position was, and I actually matriculated from the entry-level position to in-house CRA to CRA. I learned a lot by being in 2 different departments. I met a lot of great people there, so I had a good experience there.
Thank you. We're scrolling the chat. There's over 50 messages that we're scrolling.
Well, I'll add on to that as well. I actually met Kimora at Covance, and they have really good entry-level programs. They also have internships for college students, which is another avenue that you can get into clinical research in. If you are still in school and you're trying to figure out if this is what you want to do, Covance, along with other CROs, have internships. Sponsors, pharmaceutical companies have them as well, but they have different programs set up so that you can go through certain tracks to get to positions that you want to go in. And it's really about you being verbal about what you want to do and the next steps that you want to kind of go into. And a lot of good line managers will allow you to have those opportunities come to you if that is what you wish. They also have resource groups for employees. So if it's kind of like a social network, depending on who you are or what you are. So they have some for young professionals. They have one for LGBT community, and they keep adding on different things, but that's a way for you to get connected with the company and actually find more about what other avenues you can take within the company. So I did enjoy my time at Covance. I spent the majority of my clinical research life there. And like I said, I just accepted a new role very recently because I mean, they've worked with me throughout my life changes, and I appreciate the people that I've met and worked with.
Okay.
That's good to know.
I got a question. What is the job market like right now? Or look like? They corrected. Look like. What does the job market look like right now?
I know at Icon and just in general, because I've had a few CRA friends that have gone to different companies recently, because of there are a lot of COVID studies, they are hiring. There's a lot of need right now from what I've experienced.
Okay. I'm gonna make this into a question, but someone named Takia Alford, she's saying she was more so concerned not about traveling with children, but traveling alone. Like, how did you get over this, always being alone while you travel? Because most people travel in packs.
I just want to say one thing. I don't want to monopolize the conversation. When I first started traveling as a CRA, I had to go to Puerto Rico a lot. And I had to go by myself, and I was used to traveling by myself periodically, so I wasn't afraid of that. But going to a foreign place, I know it's a part of the U.S., it was a little scary, and you'll just have to get used to it by doing it. I would say try to stay safe. Set your boundaries again. If you want to travel in the daytime only, for the most part, then you do that. I travel at night sometimes, but stay in places where you feel safe. Another CRA friend of mine told me about a tracker called, I think it's Life 360, where my mom can know where I am at all times. So just try to do things that protect your safety, even if it may be of extra cost to the company. Try to make sure you're in a space where you feel safe, but I think you'll get used to traveling by yourself, eating out by yourself after you do it a while.
So one of the questions was asking, how many days are you on the road?
So I'll jump in with this one. Again, it depends on what study you're on, but like typically, what I was doing, again, and as you become higher up as a CRA too, you're going to get on more studies. So that again varies, but a good average for me would probably be like 2 to 3 days that I would be on site. I mean, I would be on the road. So I would like typically leave on a Monday. I don't like to travel on the weekend, so I try to avoid that. But typically I would leave on a Monday, and my site visits would be like Tuesday, Wednesday. Then I would fly home Wednesday night, or if it was Palm Springs, California, I stay another night and fly out on Thursday. So that's for me. That's a typical. But I mean, I've also had times where I had to do like a cleanup in New York, and I was there 2 weeks straight. So
thank you.
Quick thing, back to safety. I just wanted to reiterate or say something. If you're in a hotel and you don't feel comfortable, try to find something better. Like, do things that benefit your safety at the cost of the company so that you can feel safe. I was in a hotel before and I didn't feel comfortable. It was in a small town. There weren't that many hotels. But if I have to drive 30 more minutes to feel safe or to protect my safety, I'm going to. So go out your way to make sure that you're taking the necessary steps so that you do feel safe.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Especially
I would also add in, when it comes to hotels, if they give you a limit of $250 to get a hotel, and that is going to allow you to feel how you want to feel, go to the limit. That's what limits are for. Don't feel bad about being at the limit, because that will allow you to feel safe and be in an area where you are comfortable and things are really close to you. Also, eat earlier in the day if you can. So don't just peruse outside and try and explore at night. Try to do whatever you need to do in the daytime. I also used to be on the phone. If I had to leave at night or something, I would be on the phone with someone, not texting, because you have to be aware of your surroundings at all times when you're traveling by yourself in an unfamiliar place. And let people know where you're going to be. Have a trusted person and just let them know your schedule or just the cities that you're going to be in.
Thank you, ladies. Another question. Do you think it will be feasible to work full-time as a CRA and to go to school part-time?
Yeah, I actually know people who have pursued their master's while they were a CRA. It actually is probably easier for you to do that if you don't have a normal 9 to 5, because you're able to already have in your mind that you have to be very flexible with your time. So like if you have the ability to travel in early for that day, you can get work done for your 9 to 5, and then after hours you can work on your schooling, and then you have the flexibility to kind of extend your days if you need to. But it's very doable, and I've actually seen people do it.
Thank you. I'm still scrolling. I don't know if you found a question, Danielle.
I do. This person questioned, they said, I'm trying to break into the clinical research field. This is from Krista. I do not have a BA yet, but I have my associates in health science with 20 plus years in the medical field. I am a retired military and just completed a clinical fast track course to be a coordinator, but really want to be a CRA. Is it better to start as a CRC first, or try to use my experience to become a CRA, since the course kind of trained me for both?
Well, I'll just say that I think if your ultimate goal is to be CRA, and if you can get into a position to get yourself to be a CRA, I would go for that first. I would only use the study coordinator job to transition into the CRA role. But if you can get one off the bat, I think you should go for it if that's your goal in the end.
I think I've seen maybe 1 or 2 companies who actually have programs for military vets. I may be going crazy, but I think I seen that when I was on my search. So definitely look into that.
And one thing I wanted to mention really quick, so there's being a CRA like at a CRO, a clinical research organization, but like some academic centers that have like investigator-led studies will have CRAs there that might like, review different things, like monitor those investigator-initiated studies. So, I mean, look at that too. Like look locally if you have a university that does clinical research, see if they have some kind of in-house CRA program, or if they have like a CRA that will travel regionally, will travel like to maybe some of the outside locations that do research with that are a part of that body. Because I live in Missouri, and so I used to work at KU, and KU has a lot of regional hospitals that they work with, and they do their own research that's separate from the industry. And so, I mean, that's also an avenue, just sometimes you have to widen your idea of like what a typical CRA is, and see if there's other avenues where you live.
I would add in there, I worked my way through the university side in research, but because I applied for a lot of different CROs in the Nashville area, and I couldn't break into it because at the time I didn't want to be a monitor. But one of the things that allowed me to get into the CRO world was going through a temp agency. So Aerotech was the one that hired me to do a 1-year term in data management. I had no experience in data management and answering. I just knew that the side of answering queries and entering data into EDC, but not running the reports and doing things like that. And so try to find temp agencies, because your experience, especially now, people are really looking for temp jobs because of these COVID trials that are coming out. So try to find temp agencies like Aerotech that have a healthcare clinical research side, and talk to a few recruiters there, see if they have any opportunities locally in your area, or if they have opportunities for you to do temp and remote work for these bigger companies.
Okay, I got a question from Darlene. She said, hello ladies, this is awesome. I am an LPN who is interested in breaking into the clinical research arena. The question I have is, what is your recommendation for the best training for CRC/CRA? Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. On the job training is the best experience you can get. You can't really pay for a certificate. And it's not because those certificates can't help you with your base knowledge. It's because recruiters don't care about it. From what I've seen, and I've talked to recruiters about this just to get insight on how they feel about certificates, and they don't really care. And a lot of the times you have to understand that sponsors or pharmaceutical companies that are paying for these trials, they look at your CVs or your resumes, and if they don't feel like you're qualified and the company or CRO knows that that's the type of company they are, it's very unlikely that you're going to be a part of whatever study they need to hire for at that point in time. So experience, if you can get hands-on experience, if you can volunteer for a site. Andrika has a video up. I don't know if it's just on, I don't know if you have that out there on your LinkedIn page, Andrika, so I'm sorry if I put that out there, but she has a video up of how you can actually go on clinicaltrials.gov, see what trials are going on specific to your area, location-wise or indication-wise. You call up or email sites. You're not going to get a yes for every one of them, but you may get that one yes that allows you to either work as a paid position or volunteer. Look for universities that have clinical research departments. See if you can volunteer there. Look for sites in your specific area that are conducting clinical research and volunteer there. Like, every experience you have does not have to be a paid experience if you have the ability to do that, because those people can be the recommendations that get you where you need to be.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rashida. Here's another question from Emily. Do you have any advice for in-house CRAs who are transitioning to travel CRAs? What do you wish you had more training on before you became a traveling CRA? Anyone can answer. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
The silence is like, that's it.
Yeah, I guess for me, it's really getting a handle on your time management, because there's not an office building that you go into. You have to set your own schedule. And then when you travel, right, you're still setting like your prep time. And I mean, some of that you won't know until you like get into a routine. I just, for me also, I find when I setting up my study in the front end really helps. So like whatever tools you used as an in-house CRA to help track documents, if that's what you did. Because when I was like in a in-house CRA, like I would track the regulatory documents when they would come in and file them. So I would say like whatever tools you're using in that role, just carry them on into your traveling CRA role. And I think that will help give you a good foundation. And then also just making sure you're looking at the monitoring plan, you're getting an understanding of the frequency that you're supposed to be traveling, knowing your milestones, from your line manager, making sure that you're having a good open line of communication. Because like sometimes I've been in situations where I really had to reach out to my line manager because something wacky was going on with my travel, like my credit card didn't work or something. And so just making sure I had that line of communication with my line manager. When I first started, I think I was very timid, so I didn't want to ask too many questions. Now I ask so many questions. You know, just making sure that you are covered. So if there's anything that you can think of, like ask that question before you get on the road. And then if you're on the road and something comes up, making sure that someone knows that there's an issue. So.
Thank you, Cassie. Here's another question. As a CRA, can you request to stay regional, or is that something that comes with seniority? Again, anybody can answer.
So
You cannot request that.
Okay. I can make it, but
yeah, and I would say, especially if you were on oncology study, yeah, I definitely was like, oh, I want to be regional. I mean, and now I can drive to most of my sites. I have a few sites that I have to fly to, but yeah, it's, you can definitely request it. I wouldn't bet on that you're gonna be. I mean, yeah, I just wouldn't. Yeah.
Also, you don't want to be regional. Regional can mean 4 hours away from your house, 5 hours of driving away from your house. I would much rather travel 20 minutes to the airport, get on a plane for 2 hours, and get where I need to go. Like, Cassie, regional is not really. You think you want regional until you get regional, and it's like you have to think about how much time it's going to take you to get to the place you need to go, and then you more than likely will not get a hotel room after you're monitoring at a site. So you're spending 8 hours on site, and then you have to travel an extra 4 hours at night. You're tired, you're exhausted, you're mentally done. You don't want to be in a car after being on site all the time. So regional travel is not really what I would do.
yeah, that sounds understandable. Another question. What are hiring managers and recruiters looking for in a CRA candidate? Kimora.
Oh, okay. I just got back on. So what are hiring managers looking for in a CRA?
In the CRA candidate, yes.
CRA candidate, someone who can be flexible because things are constantly changing. Someone who, I was talking to a coworker today, a lot of times you need to have an A-type personality to be good at this job. And I would say somebody, they usually ask you a lot of situational questions. I don't know if that was said before I got back on. So someone who knows how to handle certain conflict and can have some type of resolution to those different challenging situations that may come up.
Thank you, Kimora. Some people are asking salary questions. Do you guys want to give a ballpark of salaries? Again, we are recorded, so if you don't, that is fine.
I mean, salaries are online. You can go to Glassdoor, but I will say a lot of the times entry-level CRAs are usually at the 70K mark, and then you can go up from there. You can be well into the 100,000s after 3-4 years of being a monitor. And then if you can specialize in oncology, so if you can quote unquote be an oncology monitor, you can get there quicker. And then there's another side to monitoring in being a contractor. So you're your own, business essentially. And I mean, the going rate can be 100. I've seen 150 an hour for contractors. So
wow.
It's a range, but I think that's about the starting is in the 70s.
Did we talk about salary while I was out? Because I want to say something on it. Okay. I would like to say this when it comes to salary. And one thing that I've learned, talk to people that you trust. Of course, you don't tell everybody that you meet, every CRA that you meet, what you make, but speak to people that you trust. I have a few people that I speak to about salary. And if I didn't talk to those people, I may not know the potential of how far I can go or how high I can go. I may think, oh, I'm making $90,000, I'm fine. But when really they're paying other people $130,000, if that's the case, I want to know. So of course you don't tell everybody your business, but if you have those few people that you meet along the way and you feel like you can trust those people, try to have those conversations to help each other out.
We have so many questions still left.
Yeah.
Just to take consideration of everyone's time, we are probably going to end the questions shortly. And the best way, if you still have any questions and you're on the chat, it's best to join the Facebook group, join the LinkedIn group. We are very open to answering any questions that you may have. And so I'm just going to give everybody an opportunity to share their LinkedIn or where to find them if people have specific questions for each speaker. So everyone will kind of just share their information and where people can contact you.
So you can find me on Instagram at your fave CRA. I don't post a whole lot, but I definitely answer DMs a lot. You can find me on LinkedIn, Rashida Hall, MSPH. I don't accept friend requests on Facebook that often. So LinkedIn and Instagram are my go-tos. Oh, I see. Hey, people, I see y'all. Connecting with me already.
I feel special, Rashida, because I'm your Facebook friend, so I'm feeling real special right now.
Oh my gosh, no, please.
Okay, Cassie.
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn too. Cassandra Pitts is my name. I go by Cassie because it's less formal, but Cassandra Pitts on LinkedIn. So you can look me up and add me.
I am Kamora Wilson, Kamora, last name Wilson. I'm on LinkedIn. A couple people have friended me since I've been on here, so I guess I'm searchable. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. I'm not sure what my name is, so Facebook and LinkedIn. And if you have questions, I will definitely try my best to help.
Can you ladies put that in the chat?
Yes.
Thank you.
And then also, because we have so many questions, maybe we can create another CRA meeting just strictly on questions from people who attend.
So just like a Q&A.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
That sounds good.
And then maybe we can get more, maybe another set of monitors, because we are everywhere.
Okay, so
I know y'all don't want to hear from us all the time.
You guys are great. I was going to ask, how can we find out about the next meeting?
So if you are on Facebook, if you are on LinkedIn, you can find us at Black Women in Clinical Research. You can join the Facebook group. You can join the LinkedIn. We usually post it everywhere. So myself, Rashida, Andrika, since we are the admins of Black Women in Clinical Research, you're definitely going to hear about it if you're connected to all of us, one of us, or if you're on Facebook or you're on LinkedIn. I'm also on Instagram, and I guess my username is BWICR20, but everywhere else you can find us at Black Women in Clinical Research.
Hey, can I say that I appreciate you starting this group. I wish it was around when I first started as a monitor or just in the clinical research industry. And I bought a couple of the different clothing items because I like to represent and I want people to ask me about clinical research. So I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, Kamora. I'm just so glad that everyone, this is a safe space, and I want everyone to be able to share, for us to motivate each other, for us to empower one another. This is just a network of women, Black women, working together. And it doesn't end just with Black women, but this is just our starting point of how we can kind of change the clinical research world and increase diversity. So this is definitely, I'm just want to thank everyone, each and everyone who has came out, who has joined today. We appreciate it so much. And your support just means I'm lost for words.
Don't you dare tear up.
What'd you say?
I said, don't you tear up. I
know I get so when I get so emotional when, I hear someone's story or someone tells me thank you. It's just, I feel like this is just so needed and necessary, especially with being a Black woman and just, having that space and not feeling like, okay, I'm a Black woman in clinical research and I'm just on an island by myself. Because that's definitely how I felt when I started my clinical research career. So that's why I just wanted to pull everybody together, pull all the resources together, because even though it might not be a lot of us, we are strong and we are mighty and we can accomplish anything. So don't ever feel like you can't ask anybody a question. If you have a question, we are there. Every woman in the group is supportive. Like if I have the information, I will give it to you. If I can't find it, if I don't have it, I'll find it for you. So, Andrika, would you like to share? your information?
Oh, I dropped my link in the chat. I am Andrika, Andrika Thomas on LinkedIn. That's probably the only place I'll allow you to connect for now. um, and yeah, if you haven't joined the Facebook group Black Women in Clinical Research, you are missing out. We share a ton of information in there, probably more so than the LinkedIn group. So just get in there, do searches for, questions that you might already, we might have already answered. A lot of useful information in there, a lot of great networking. So definitely connect, keep in touch, and stay tuned for the next events. If you do join the group, we do have something called Wind Down Wednesdays, which is every other Wednesday, where we just get together on Facebook and we chat a little bit about your week, any stressors, any successes, just a very small group. And yeah.
It's not recorded, so.
It's not recorded. It's like a self-care day. As Danielle would say, wine is, optional. Yeah, shout out to Danielle for creating this group. Let them see that sign behind you, Danielle. Bow!
It's not too big. I think I need to make it a little smaller, but I mean.
No, I think you need to make it a bit bigger.
Bigger. Oh, bigger. Okay.
Yeah.
Or we can use the sign when we start reaching out to, colleges and universities. That can be, in the back. But definitely, if you are not a member of Black Women in Clinical Research, please join us on Facebook. We welcome everyone with open arms. We just want everyone to reach their fullest potential, and we're just a support system. So just let us know how we can help you. We're here for you. And once again, I just want to thank everyone for coming out today. I want to thank each and every speaker for taking the time and giving this needed and necessary information, because going into clinical research, it can be tough. It definitely can be tough. It can be challenging, and you need that support system. You need, different people from different backgrounds to see kind of where you kind of can fit into your clinical research journey. So thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you.